What a treat to be invited on my very first Bear Den survey with my friends from the Ozark podcast. Check out this amazing story of how the Arkansas black bear is the most successful reintroduction of a large carnivore anywhere in the world.
What we're doing today is we are doing a bear den survey. And any game animal that we have, we try to do monitoring programs to keep population numbers, get population estimates, look at the health of the population, and everything else. I mean, we try to do it with turkeys, with deer, with any game animal, and this is part of what we do with bears. The reason why it is important for us to do this with bears, not only to monitor what's going on year to year with the reproduction and recruitment, but for those of you that don't know, bears have a really rich history with Arkansas. Arkansas was once known as the Bear State, unofficially, at the time of settlement. It was thought that we may have had 50,000 black bears in the state at that time. But as you can imagine, the landscape in Arkansas looked a lot different at the settlement than it does now. Bears were almost extirpated from the state. They were relentlessly market hunting for their fat. And by 1950, it was thought that the only remaining population of bears that existed in the state was in the lower White River drainage at a place called Scrubgrass Bayou. Thought that we may have had 50 black bears left in the state. All the mountain bears, the Ozarks and Ouachita bears were virtually extirpated from the state. There might have been a few, one or two, that managed to evade being killed or for whatever reason, but really not enough to make a difference about anything. So in 1958, Game and Fish embarked on what is now still a historical reintroduction effort. From 1958 to 68, they brought in 254 bears from Minnesota and Manitoba, Canada, and they released them in sites in the Ozarks and Ouachita Mountains. The mountains had grown back up from being cut over at early settlement, and it was really good habitat. It was such good habitat that the populations flourished, being no harvest or anything like that, and the population rebounded so well that by 1980, Game and Fish was actually able to reopen bear season in Arkansas. And this last year marked the 43rd consecutive bear season that we've had in the state. It was a record harvest year, 765 bears, which eclipsed the previous record of 100 bears. And so if you look at Arkansas's bear history and the reintroduction and everything, and where we are now, having 43 years of bear hunting in the state, that reintroduction effort is still considered the most successful reintroduction of a large carnivore in the history of any natural resource agency. And so it is a flagship conservation story that Arkansas is really glad to have done, to be a part of, and still be involved with the conservation effort of such an awesome game animal. So that's a little bit about the history, some biology to kind of explain why we're doing it now. Bears breeding season actually is in May, June, and July in Arkansas. That's the breeding season for bears. The females are bred. During that time, the gestation period is roughly 220 days. But that once that egg is fertilized, that blastocyst doesn't attach to the uterine wall. It kind of floats around in the uterus and everything, but doesn't attach. About the time that she starts her den cycle, that blastocyst will attach, and she'll finish the development of it. And once it attaches, it's about 69 days till they're born. They're born in Arkansas in mid to late January. They're about the size of a Coke can, weigh about 8 ounces. And they can grow about a pound a week because bear fat is so rich in fat. Bear milk is so rich in fat. Bear milk is about 35% milk fat. So, yeah, we all buy 2% or 1% or skim milk. Bear fat is really rich and they can grow really well. And basically that's all they do for the next 4 months until mid-April or so, when the cubs are probably about 10 pounds, 11 pounds. They emerge from that den with the female. They spend all summer with mom and all fall learning how to be bears, and they will re-enter that den again with the mother when they're, quote, a year old. And then we'll do the survey again next year, and hopefully if she had 3 cubs this year, hopefully she has 3 yearlings with her next year. And that's how we're able to determine reproduction and recruitment or survival information of those cubs. And it's really kind of critical on the female component of it, because once she emerges from that second den cycle with her cubs or yearlings, she'll let them hang around for about a month or so, and then along about early to mid-April, she's going to kick them out of the nest. The females she allows to live within her home range. That's her insurance policy, that those bears have everything they need to survive in her home range. She tolerates them to stay in her home range, but she kicks the males out, drives them out of her home range, doesn't tolerate them being around. So survivability of a female bear once they come out of that second den cycle with the mother is virtually 100%. So, but that's why we try to frame our reproduction monitoring at this time of year. We don't want to go in and do cub work when they're 1 pound. We could, but it's just they're too small. We don't want to jeopardize, them getting cold, them being exposed while we're doing everything with the female and everything else like that. So what we try to frame these den trips when they're a handleable age, when they're an age where they can, where you can handle them and keep them wrapped up. You don't have to worry about hypothermia or something like that. And we want them to be around 3 to 7 or 8 pounds, 7 pounds. That's the magic number. So we do know that she has cubs. I don't really know how many cubs she has. We heard them last time. So let me back up on the female. And one unique thing about bears, the average litter size of an adult female bear is 2 cubs per adult female every other year of her life. Okay? 16 cubs for a 25-year lifespan isn't very much. And, in the world of game management, species management, bears are considered to have very low biotic rates. They don't reproduce every year like deer or turkey or every other game animal. They reproduce every other year. And even on a good year, they're only going to have 2 cubs every other year. So 16 years of, 16 cubs, an entire life cycle is not very many cubs, especially when you consider probably more than half of those are going to be males, because males have a naturally higher mortality rate than any animal. So, that's why it's critical for us as a conservation agency to maintain a good monitoring of what's going on with our bear population. If you see really significant drops in reproduction rates because of overharvest, because of drought summers, because of consecutive mass failures in the fall, all of those things can affect reproductive rate. And if you continue to see that year after year after year after year, you're going to have a population that's in a pretty serious decline. And if you don't do something to mitigate that, it's going to take a long time for that population to come back. Because they do have such low biotic rates. Okay, so now to what we're going to be doing today. As a side note of what we're doing today, we are also doing some drug trials on a new drug for a bear. The drug has been on the market for a while, but it is not approved for bears. Okay? And so it's real similar to the drug that we've been using the past few years, but as of right now, that drug is technically not approved for bears. And so we are field trialing that drug. We're doing beta testing on that drug for the pharmacy, and that's the role that Clay Hilton, Morgan Rosenbaum, AJ, the grad students here, that's their role today, is to monitor every facet of that bear, that female, while she is under anesthesia. They're going to be taking blood gases, they're going to intubate her, put a tube down, apply supplemental oxygen just like if one of us was on an OR table, okay? And by gathering all that information, hopefully at the end of this drug trial, we will be able to Clay and all of us will be able to get bears approved for use for this drug, because everything that we've seen on it in the last 2 years, this drug is far superior to be administering to bears in a den cycle. When the bears are in a den cycle, they're not true hibernators, but they do lower their respiratory rate, they lower their temperature a little bit, they lower their heart rate, they lower everything, and they get into a torpor, kind of a deep sleep. But because bears aren't true hibernators, they can arouse instantly, and they do. They're always awake when we dart them, they know what's going on. But the thing about the drugs that we have been using, and most other drugs on the market out there, is they have a component in them that suppresses respiratory rate even further. So if you have an animal that's only breathing 4 times a minute, during a den cycle and normal course of things, and you administer a drug that suppresses respiratory rate to 1 or 2 breaths a minute, that's not enough. So the drugs that we're using today doesn't really have that characteristic. And that's why we're doing the drug trials. That's why Clay came up from Texas and Morgan and the grad students, and that's why we're running these trials this year. And it's kind of, I know it's kind of geeky to sound, but it's pretty significant in the bear management world. Because all these other state agencies, when they're doing their den work or whatever else, we get this drug approved for bears during the den cycle, and it's a far superior drug. And so, that's kind of the tip of the spear on what Arkansas is doing for bear management around the country. So, while they're doing that, while the female is under anesthesia and we're monitoring all that, we'll have plenty of time to work with the cubs, okay? I would encourage you, if he has multiple cubs, we can pass them around and everyone can get pictures with them. And then as we start finishing up, we can set aside in your own groups. And if she has 2 or 3 cubs, you can get in your group with all 3 cubs and take pictures that way. And I'll keep that rolling as the bear goes through she'll be out probably about an hour. And then when everything's said and done, we'll weigh her, we'll do all these different things. And when the procedure is basically over after about an hour or so, we'll put her kind of back in the den. We'll put the cubs back with her. We'll have everyone kind of clear out, and then we'll administer a reversal agent, and that way she can kind of come out of it, without a horde of people around her and go into a panic and something like that. So there's a lot of different components that we're doing today. And of course, another big component that we're doing today is the reason why all of y'all are here. It's a big PR component for Game and Fish, and we take opportunity. If any of you know me, if you can get me to stand alone for 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about bears to somebody, But it is a great opportunity for people to understand and see not only what we're doing as Game and Fish as a conservation agency, but why we're doing it. And it's all to make the bear world better in Arkansas. So, with all that being said, which is enough, it did rain last night. This is not an easy hike, folks, and we're not going to go fast. There's a lot of rock hopping. The rocks are going to be slick now with the wet and the leaves, and there's some steep stuff, but we're just going to take it easy, okay? It's about, once we drop off the bluff here, it's about 850 yards to the bear, and it's not flat or easy or any of it. But once we get there, I'll kind of stage everyone back. Once we get reasonably close, if you youngsters promise to be really quiet and keep everything to a whisper, we'll probably get you up within a visual up on the hill to where you can kind of see down on what we're doing. But we do want everyone to be quiet when we get to that point. There's no leaves on the tree. Sound carries a long ways, and like I said, they're not asleep. They hear something going on, they smell something, they're going to wake up. So we want to keep her as calm as possible. We'll go down and we'll tranquilize her, and then when we get her planed out and leveled out and everything set, and we'll bring the group down, and we'll bring the cubs out, and we get to hold the cubs and take pictures and do all that stuff while the rest of the procedure is going on. And we're going to recollar her with the GPS collar rather than the VHF.
What do we call the GPS?
As you can see, bear country can be extreme, with steep inclines and bouldering all the way. This was about a 1-mile hike. When we get close to the den site, the biologists go down and make it safe for everyone else to join. All the bears that are tracked get a special name. This one's name is Mahaley, and isn't she beautiful?
I was thinking she was probably somewhere around 6 or 7, maybe.
Yep.
She's not real old.
Well, guys, I know we've had a long day. We're hot and we're sweaty. that trek out of there was no joke. I mean, I remember getting to the bottom and I was like, oh shoot, did we really walk down this? That was straight up. So I know y'all got jobs to do. Clay, you're going back to put some blood in a centrifuge and spin it up and separate out.
Actually, this lady here.
Oh, AJ's doing it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not two.
Oh,
She's
just AJ.
doing it.
All right. Well,
She is the wildlife health
Y'all are gonna
biologist.
go take a shower and watch some TV.
yeah. Well, we'll let y'all get out of here. We really appreciate y'all letting us come out here, and thank you guys for jumping on at the end of a long day.
Sure.
Absolutely.
AJ, thanks for
Thanks for
coming
allowing
back
us.
on. Myron, second time back
Absolutely.
on.
You
Maybe
bet.
maybe even third. I think we've had you on a couple times. And Clay, welcome. And we'll talk to you guys soon, and good luck with the spinning up the blood.
Thank you.